Hello and welcome back. When we left off last week reading The Hobbit, all 13 of the dwarves had been captured by trolls. So today I'm dressed like a troll and we're going to find out how those dwarves escape from the trolls. Here we go. It was just then that Gandalf came back, but no one saw him. The trolls had just decided to roast the dwarves now and eat them later. That was Bert's idea, and after a lot of argument, they finally agreed to it.
No good roasting them now. It'll take all night,
said a voice. Bert thought it was William's.
Don't start the argument all over again, Bill, he said, or it will take all night.
Who's arguing? Said William, who thought it was Bert that spoke.
You are, said Bert. You're a liar, said William.
And so the argument began all over again. In the end, they decided to mince them fine and boil them. So they got a great black pot and they took out their knives.
No good boiling them. We ain't got no water, and it's a long way to the well and all, said a voice.
Bert and William thought it was Tom's voice.
Shut up, they said, or we'll never have it done. And you can fetch the water yourself if you say any more.
Shut up yourself,
said Tom, who thought it was William's voice.
Who's arguing but you? I'd like to know.
You're a booby, said William.
Booby yourself,
said Tom. And so the argument began all over again and went on hotter than ever, until at last they decided to sit on the sacks one by one and squash them and boil them next time.
Who shall we sit on first? Said the first voice. Better sit on the last fellow first, said Bert,
whose eye had been damaged by Thorn. He thought it was Tom talking.
Don't talk to yourself, said Tom, but if you wants to sit on the last one, sit on him. Which is he?
The one with the yellow stockings, said Bert.
Nonsense! The one with the gray stockings,
said a voice like William's.
I made sure it was yellow, said Bert.
Yellow it was, said William.
Then what did you say it was gray for? Said Bert. I never did. Tom said it.
I never did, said Tom. It was you.
2-1, so shut your mouth, said Bert. Who are you talking to? Said William.
Now stop it,
said Tom and Bert together.
The night's getting on and dawn comes early. Let's get on with it.
Dawn take you all and be stoned to you,
said a voice that sounded like William's, but it wasn't. For just at that moment, the light came over the hill and there was a mighty twitter in the branches. William never spoke, for he stood, turned to stone as he stooped, and Bert and Tom were stuck like rocks as they looked at him. And there they stand to this day all alone, unless the birds perch on them, for trolls, as you probably know, must be underground before dawn. Or they go back to the stuff of the mountains they are made of and never move again. That's what had happened to Bert and Tom and William.
Excellent,
said Gandalf as he stepped from behind a tree and helped Bilbo climb out of the thorn bush. Then Bilbo understood. It was the wizard's voice that had kept the trolls bickering and quarreling until the light came and made an end to them. The next thing was to untie the sacks and let out the dwarves. They were nearly suffocated and very annoyed. They had not at all enjoyed lying there listening to the trolls, making plans for roasting them and squashing them and mincing them. They had to hear Bilbo's account of what happened to him twice over before they were satisfied.
Silly time to go practicing pinching and pocket picking, said Bomber, when what we wanted was fire and food.
And that's just what you wouldn't have got of those fellows without a struggle in any case, said Gandalf. Anyhow, you are wasting time now. Don't you realize that the trolls must have a cave or a hole dug somewhere near to hide from the sun in? We must look into it. They searched about and soon found the mark of the trolls' stony boots going away through the trees. They followed the tracks up the hill until, hidden by bushes, they came on a big door of stone leading to a cave. But they could not open it, not though they all pushed, while Gandalf tried various incantations. Will this be any good? Asked Bilbo when they were getting tired and angry. I found it on the ground where the trolls had their fight. He held out a largish key, though no doubt William had thought it very small and secret.
It must have fallen out of his pocket very luckily before he was turned to stone. "Why on earth didn't you mention it before?" they cried. Gandalf grabbed it and fitted it into the keyhole. Then the stone door swung back with one big push, and they all went inside. There were bones on the floor and nasty smells in the air, but there was a good deal of food jumbled carelessly on shelves and on the ground, among an untidy litter of plunder, all sorts from brass buttons to pots full of gold, coins standing in the corner. There were lots of clothes, too, hanging on the walls. Too small for trolls, I'm afraid. They belonged to the victims. And among them were several swords of various makes, shapes, and sizes. Two caught their eyes particularly because of their beautiful scabbards and jeweled hilts. Gandalf and Thorin each took one of these, and Bilbo took a knife and a leather sheath. It would have made only a tiny pocket knife for a troll, but it was as good as a short sword for the hobbit.
"These look like good blades," said the wizard, half drawing them and looking at them curiously. "They were not made by any troll, nor by any smith among men in these parts and days. But when we can read the runes on them, we shall know more about them."
"Let's get out of this horrible smell," said Fili. So they carried out the pots of coins and such food as was untouched and looked fit to eat. Also one barrel of ale, which was still full. By that time they felt like breakfast and had been very hungry, so they did not turn their noses at what they had gotten from the troll's larder. Their own provisions were very scanty. Now they had bread and cheese and plenty of ale and bacon to toast on the embers of the fire. After that they slept, for their night had been disturbed, and they did nothing more till afternoon. Then they brought up their ponies and carried away the pots of gold and buried them very secretly, not far from the track, by the river, putting a great many spells over them just in case they ever had the chance to come back and recover them. When that was done, they all mounted once more and jogged along again on the path toward the east.
"Where did you go, if I may ask?" said Thorin to Gandalf as they rode along. "To look ahead," said he. "And what brought you back to us in the nick of time?"
"Looking behind," said he. "Exactly," said Thorin. "But could you be more plain?"
"I went on to spy out our road. It will soon become dangerous and difficult. Also, I was anxious about replenishing our small stock of provisions. I had not gone very far, however, when I met a couple of friends of mine from Rivendell."
"Where's that?" asked Bilbo.
"Don't interrupt," said Gandalf. "You will get there in a few days now, if we're lucky, and find out all about it. As I was saying, I met two of Elrond's people."
Now, Elrond is a brand new character. Here's a picture of him. We will meet Elrond and his people in the next chapter.
"They were hurrying along for fear of trolls. It was they who told me that 3 of them had come down from the mountains and settled in the woods not far from the road. They had frightened everyone away from the district, and they waylaid strangers. I immediately had a feeling that I was wanted back. Looking behind, I saw a fire in the distance and made for it. So now you know. Please be more careful next time, or we shall never get anywhere."
"Thank you," said Thorin. And that's the end of our chapter. Thank you for listening. For today's activity, we're going to be looking at some pictures. We're going to think about how those trolls were turned to stone. It was almost like they became statues. So we're going to look at a picture of something that is alive and something that is turned to stone and see if you can tell the difference. Thank you so much for listening. Come back next time and we're going to learn about Elrond and find out the next exciting part of the adventure.